And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, April 9th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we had some major news yesterday in the NBA as the Denver Nuggets have essentially cleaned house right before the playoffs. This is now the second team that's kind of done this. The Grizzlies also let go of their head coach prior to the postseason, but that was a little while ago. But the Nuggets are now the most recent team to do that. They let go of Mike Malone and also their general manager, Calvin Booth. They let him go as well. So we're going to get into that, talk about why that transpired. Then we'll also talk about the NBA action from yesterday. Mainly we'll talk about the Knicks-Celtics game. I had that on, was watching that. The Celtics, of course, got the win in a close game. Game went to overtime. We'll talk about that. The Thunder also got their revenge against the Lakers from the other night. So we'll talk about that. And then just take a look at the standings now, where everything sits. We'll also talk about the 49ers. We will talk about Kyle Shanahan, his recent comments on Christian McCaffrey, and how the 49ers could be addressing the running back situation or the running back position in the draft. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about the Yankees. They've lost 3 straight. Is it time to panic? We'll get into that. And then in the final part of the show, we will do some post-free agency rankings, divisional rankings, I should say. So today we'll be ranking the teams in the NFC East. So I will rank them, from first to fourth. Well, we'll start from 4 and then move up to 1. I'll rank them based off of how I feel they did in free agency and how the teams currently look at the moment. So that's the rundown for the show today. Let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Nuggets cleaning house. So this was yesterday, and again, the Grizzlies, they let their head coach go as well. This was a little bit more shocking, I feel, when it comes to the Nuggets. Michael Malone, of course, was the coach when they won the championship a couple years ago. And, I don't think really any of us saw this coming. The Nuggets right now, I think they sit in the 4th seed in the Western Conference. But the Nuggets felt like this was a move they had to make right now. They also did release a statement, which I will read to you in a moment. Oh, so now the Nuggets actually are the 5th seed, but you have 4 teams that are tied right now with the same record. You got the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. They're all tied with the same record. And then you got the Timberwolves, who are a game behind them, and then you got the Lakers, who are a game ahead of all those teams. Lakers are currently the 3. So once again, the Western Conference, a reminder, it's going to be a dogfight to the end of the year. But I wanted to talk about the statement that was released by the Nuggets on this. So this is a statement from Josh Kroenke, and it says, and I quote, "It is with no pleasure that we announce that we have relieved Michael Malone of his head coaching duties, effective immediately. David Edelman will assume our head coaching role for the remainder of the 2024-2025 season. While the timing of this decision is unfortunate, as Coach Malone helped build the foundation of our now championship-level program, it is a necessary step to allow us to compete at the highest level right now. We look forward to building on the foundations laid by Coach Malone over his record-breaking 10-year career in Denver. It is with our utmost respect that we would like to thank Coach Malone for the most successful decade in Nuggets history, setting the all-time wins record and helping deliver our first championship." Now, from some of the stuff that I was reading, first off, I I know there was a lot of stuff being talked about when it came to a recent press conference. The Nuggets lost to the Trailblazers. Coach Malone kind of went on a little rant talking about the players and how they don't watch film. And, I guess maybe that could have rubbed people the wrong way. And maybe that was the cause of his firing, that led to his firing. But also, when talking about the general manager, it seemed like there was a discrepancy on the roster. Michael Malone wanted to win. The front office kind of wanted to save money and try to develop young players, but so there was a difference in philosophy. And, I kind of signed with Coach Malone because, yeah, you have Jokic, right? He's the best player in the NBA right now. And you want to win as much as possible. You want to maximize the championships that you can win in this window that you have. So, if that's the case, I would agree with the coach. But also, if you're having issues with the roster, that shouldn't mean that the head coach should be on the way out too, right? That should also mean that, that should mean that, this is on the general manager. The coach doesn't build the team. Now, the coach coaches the team. They do the best they can. They try to get as much out of their players as possible. But ultimately, if you don't have the roster that's up to par, that's on the general manager. And had the Nuggets let go of their general manager, and that's it, all right. I mean, again, the timing would have been weird, but would have been strange. But at least, hey, it would be understandable. But that is not the case. That is not the case. They are both out. Which, again, this is the second time that we've seen this year. And listen, I understand if you're a franchise in any sport, if you decide to let go of your coach or your manager, I understand that. But I only understand it when it's earlier in the season or if it's mid-season. But when you're doing it towards the end of the season, and especially if you're a team that is competing for a playoff spot, that's in a playoff spot right now, that doesn't make much sense to me. To me, you let this season play out. You let the playoffs play out. And if it doesn't pan out, then, Shaq talked about it on, Inside the NBA. You say, Coach, thank you for everything, but we're going to go in a different direction. I don't think you pull the rug out on him right when you're about to enter the postseason, because you're giving this new coach, this interim coach, no time, essentially, to prepare for the playoffs. And in the playoffs, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Like, yeah, Denver might not be playing great right now. They got some injuries. Jamal Murray's banged up. I'll be honest, I didn't realize that. But you get everybody back healthy, and I apologize. I'm dealing with some common issues with the camera. What else is new? But Denver still has a chance to do something. They might be struggling towards the end of the season, but if they can get in, as long as you get into the postseason, anything can happen. And right now they're the 4th seed. Like, it's not like they're, a fringe playoff team. They're definitely going to be in the play-in. I mean, they could be in the play-in. That's still a possibility. But, they are a top 4 seed right now. And you're letting go of your coach right before the season ends, the regular season ends. I just don't agree with that. I do not agree with that. And I really didn't agree with it when it came to the Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies did kind of fall off a bit because, they were like the 2 seed, and then they fell all the way down to like, the 7th or the 8th seed. All right, but still, like, you're going to make the playoffs. or I guess the play-in. Again, I keep combining the playoffs with the play-in. The play-in is not the playoffs. But I just think that because, But yeah, I mean, there's maybe some other things that were going on that we don't know about. Um, you know, it's a look. The bottom line is this: it's a players-driven league, right? The players have control, and at least from some of the stuff I was reading, this really just had to do with ownership saying, "Look, we want to go in a different direction and whatnot." But I just don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. And you know what's? This is going to become normalized. This is going to become normalized where you're going to see even teams that are going to make the playoffs, you are going to see, hey, if we don't like this guy, doesn't matter if we're going to make the playoffs. He's gone. And if it's towards the end of the year, it doesn't matter. You will see more of this. I don't think this is just going to be an anomaly. Because that's what the NBA is right now. Like I said, the players have the power. And again, if ownership feels that coach is not doing a good job, even if they are going to make the playoffs, they don't care. And I don't think Michael Malone deserves this because this is a guy that won a championship with this team. And you're not even going to let him finish the season? They're going to make the playoffs. It's strange. That's really all you could say. It's strange. But I think this is going to be a new trend in the NBA. I really do believe that. I really do. So, looking at the Nuggets' remaining schedule, so like I said, right now they're the 5th seed, okay? And they could change that, for better or for worse. They have lost, wow, how many games have they lost in a row now? They've lost 4 in a row. So I guess really they were just like, all right, we've had enough. They lose to Jokic has that 60-point game against the Timberwolves. They lose by 1. The triple-double. They lose to the Spurs. They lose to the Warriors. They lose to the Pacers. They got 3 games remaining. They're at the Kings, home against the Grizzlies, and then at the Rockets. They could still make up ground here. They could pass the Clippers. Maybe they get lucky. The Lakers slip up. They pass them. And then all of a sudden you have the 3rd seed. But right now they're looking at the 5th seed. And last year, I would have thought that I thought they were going to win again. I did. I really did. And then the Timberwolves happened. So it's just, yeah. No, I don't know. Not a good look. Not a good look. I would have let him play it out. But I also wanted to bring up, this was a graphic that TNT posted on their show. NBA championship coaches since 2019. Nick Nurse won the title in 2019, was out in 2023. Frank Vogel won in 2020, was out in 2022. Mike Budenholzer with the Bucks won in 2021, was out in 2023. Steve Kerr still coaching the Warriors. He's not going anywhere. Joe Mazzulla won last year. Obviously is still there. But Michael Malone won in 2023. He's out in 2025. I don't get it. Anthony in the chat says the longest tenured coaches in the NBA right now that haven't gone fired from their current positions are Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra, and Greg Popovich. Yeah, that would be correct. I don't think you're missing anybody. Seems like in general, every other job in the NBA, their franchises have the coach for maybe 5 or 6 years. It's rude that you see a coach there for 10. Yeah, and you see a lot of changes. Don't get me wrong. You see a lot of changes with coaching, with coaches, right? They're always going different places. But I don't think we've seen this, where you see coaches getting released or getting fired so late into the season, and you're going to make the playoffs. But I think you're going to see more of that. This is going to begin a trend. I really do believe that. All right, so we are going to take our first break of the show now. And then when we come back, we're going to talk more NBA. We'll talk about the Celtics and their win over the Knicks, and we'll also talk about the Thunder getting their revenge on the Lakers from the loss the other night. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.